Hello guys, this is your friend and we are back with a new fanfic. Which is what if Naruto has the Byakugan and Sharingan combined part 1. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now start the fanfic. He woke up. Looking around him he could see nothing, it was completely black, but he could tell that he must be in some kind of tunnel or cave because he could feel the uneven stone floor under his back. It wasn't the most comfortable thing in the world. He vaguely remembered being in some sort of liquid. It was green and he could see people moving around in front of him, but apparently outside of the liquid then something was dropped into the water and another liquid rose up from the bottom of tank. This one was blue and a lot warmer than the green one that just seemed to vanish as the exothermic reaction took place. He couldn't remember what happened after that till he woke up without a clue as to where he was. Alright kid, time to find out where the hell we are, said a voice in his head. Oh really? And how exactly do you propose to do that? He replied. Simple really. I'm going to give you a new set of eyes, the voice said matter-of-factly. Huh? How the hell can you do that? He asked, surprise apparent in his voice. I can do many things that would normally be impossible. I'm the reason you've not died yet, replied the voice. Even so, I thought you had to have Kekkei Genkai to begin with. He was curious and annoyed now. He knew he didn't have a bloodline and he was pretty sure that without one this being talking to him from within his own head could do nothing. Ah, but that's where you are wrong, said the voice sounding slightly, having apparently just read his thoughts. You already have a Kekkei Genkai and one of the strongest bloodlines around, but with no one to teach you how to activate it or use it, it just lay dormant. Now I'm going to teach you to activate and use it, but first I'm going to make it even more powerful. If you thought that the Byakugan or the Sharingan were strong, yours will make them seem no better than normal eyesight in comparison, said the voice. Okay then, so what is my natural bloodline then? He asked the voice. Fuengan. It's a powerful combination of Byakugan, Sharingan and a few other things. One is a kind of genjutsu, another is in a class of its own and the rest I can't remember right now. Now to give you a small history lesson before you bombard me with questions, your clan dates back over 3,000 years and was one of the first to have a Kekkei Genkai. Both the Hyugas and the Uchihas are descended from your clan, although both clans know it and would never admit it, and they each only gained a fraction of the full power. In order for the Hyugas to maintain theirs, their eyes had to change and lose their pupils. The power the Uchihas took didn't need to the eyes to change too much but had one slight drawback. Because of the level of power the eyes possessed, they had to create a way of blocking the power so that only when a person was capable of handling the eyes up to that point could access that power, but your clan again had a slight difference. The chakra reserves at any given age were at least 3 times that of normal shinobi at a similar age, so your clan never needed any control measures put in place, but it did have one problem: it could only use one of its abilities at a time. Now then, first things first, I'm going to activate your Kekkei Genkai, said the voice. His eyes felt strange as chakra surged into them, opening the gates to pathways he hadn't used before. Right now that's done. Next is to explain the other skills of your eyes. You know what ultraviolet light is and infrared light. Your eyes can see both of these and also have the ability to see in any level of light, even total darkness. The genjutsu ability will create 2 kinds. The first is similar to standard genjutsu but is a minimum of 5 layers deep right now, but with time and practice more, and the second creates a single layer far more real and far harder to break than standard genjutsu. With time the number of layers you can put into it can be increased, but each extra layer means using the same amount of chakra again, so 2 layers would double the normal chakra used, 3 would treble it and 4 would quadruple it, and so on for each extra layer. And for my gift, as I told you, your abilities can normally only be used one at a time, but I'm about to change that. You will now be able to use one of each of your abilities at the same time. So for example, you could use Sharingan, Byakugan, a 5-layer genjutsu and night vision at the same time, but you couldn't use night vision and ultraviolet vision at the same time, said the voice. Well, that's all good and well, but the hell do I actually get the abilities to work? He asked. You make it sound so hard when it's ever so simple. Just think about the ability or abilities you want to activate and focus chakra into your eyes. Once your eyes are active, they will stay active and change what they are doing with a mere thought until you either run out of chakra or deliberately turn them off. Unlike the Sharingan and Byakugan, they will stay active even whilst you are unconscious, and if you are knocked out at the same time as you lose the last of your chakra, they will automatically reactivate when you have enough chakra stored up. now give it a try, the voice said. He carefully focused the chakra into his eyes and focused on activating the Byakugan and the night vision. Suddenly the world around him lit up as though there were lights everywhere and he found he could see in a dome around him. It was strange for him to not only be able to see straight ahead but behind, above, to both sides and below himself as well. Now I have two more small gifts for you. The first is hearing, more sensitive than most animals, and the second is a sense of smell on the same level. These should make your life a lot easier, it said. He looked around and could see he was in some sort of cave but couldn't find any way to get out. As far as he could see, the cave just stretched on and on in both directions with neither turns nor ends. Okay, you seem to be struggling a bit here, kid, so listen to me, focus on what you can hear, the voice said calmly. He did so and could hear the wind moving through the cave even though he couldn't feel it. It was going from in front of him to behind him. There you go, kid, now you know which way to go to get out, the voice said. He started walking forwards, avoiding the various stalagmites that he would have walked into if not for his newly awakened abilities. Slowly but surely he made his way to the end of the cave and out into the early dawn that awaited him outside. He found himself standing on the top of the Hokage monument but towards the back of it, out of sight of the village itself. He turned off his night vision and then looked down at his clothes. They weren't his normal orange jumpsuit, but instead he had baggy black jeans and a black t-shirt with black boots on his feet. Any idea what happened to me? He asked the voice. Yeah, you and the rest of your team went on a mission, but unfortunately it would seem that it was a trap to get you. They took out your team and left them there. Near as I could tell, they were all alive, just badly beaten and unconscious. Then they took you to some underground lab. I have no idea where. They did something to you, but I can't tell what or if it was just one thing or many. Beyond that I don't know. I certainly have no idea how we ended up in that cave, the voice replied. I hope the rest of my team made it back and are okay, he said. I guess there's only one way to find out, he said out loud and started walking up to the top of the monument and towards the village of Konoha. As he reached the top and looked over, as an explosion happened at the wall a short distance away from the main gate, he quickly started running towards it. As he ran down one of the streets, Shikamaru appeared out of a side street and nearly fell over, just catching himself and carrying on running when he saw him. Hey Naruto, where have you been? You were listed me 2 weeks ago, said Shikamaru running alongside him. No time to explain right now, we gotta find out what caused that explosion, he replied. As they arrived at the place, they saw that the wall had a hole blown into it and sound ninja were pouring through the opening. Other Leaf Ninja had already arrived and had begun to engage the Sound Ninja. Upon seeing the two young genin, one of the Sound Ninja ran at them from the side, but Naruto's Fuengan was still active and he saw the ninja come at him. He bit his left thumb and pressed it onto his right forearm. A summoning seal appeared on his arm and a kunai appeared. He quickly grabbed the kunai in his left hand and threw it at the approaching ninja. The ninja had been so sure that he hadn't been seen that he was surprised to see a kunai flying at him and couldn't react to dodge it. It struck him square in the forehead just below his forehead protector and killed him instantly. Naruto figured it best not to ask how he could do it in the middle of a fight and instead just activated the Sharingan part of his eyes and began to summon more kunai from his arms, quickly firing them at Sound Ninja, both engaged in combat with Leaf Ninja and those still coming through. Shikamaru, Naruto shouted. What now? Asked Shikamaru in his usual bored voice. As Sasuke in Konoha, Naruto asked whilst throwing a kunai at a Sound Ninja that was trying to sneak up behind him and hitting him square in the groin with it. Yeah, why? Asked Shikamaru, apparently a bit curious now. Good, Naruto said. He then formed 8 hand signs in rapid succession and slammed his palm onto the floor. A summoning circle shot out from around his palm. As the smoke cleared, an 8-foot-tall fox with 4 tails slowly came into view. Help the Leaf Ninja. I need to find someone, he said to the fox. Sure, this looks like fun, said the fox. It appeared to have a sadistic grin on its face. Shikamaru, come on. I need to find Sasuke, shouted Naruto, running off. Shikamaru quickly followed. What a drag, I'd rather be in bed, said Shikamaru under his breath. You did that, didn't you? Said Naruto. Of course, just another little gift from me. Save summoning those damn toads. They don't listen to you half the time anyway, replied the voice. Okay, I'll give you that one. Now, any guesses on the best way to find Sasuke? He asked. He's the one that's got the Sharingan, isn't he? Asked the voice. Yeah, why? Naruto was a little confused as to why they wanted to know. Okay, that makes life easier. There's one more ability your eyes have. By focusing hard on the kind of Kekkei Genkai that's descended from yours you want to find, your eyes can lock onto and track each and every person around. They can also point you in the direction of the nearest person with that Kekkei Genkai. With time you'll be able to locate any type of Kekkei Genkai this way, but it takes practice to find them. But your blood already knows about those descended from it, so it can find them easily, replied the voice. Alright, thanks for all your help. Planning on giving me more in the future, or is it a one-day special? Asked Naruto. I'll see, replied the voice. Naruto stopped suddenly to Shikamaru's surprise. Right time to find Sasuke, he said, and closing his eyes started to focus. Suddenly his eyes flew open. This way, he said, running down a side alley. How in the hell does he suddenly know where he is? Oh well, I better follow him, Shikamaru muttered as he ran after Naruto. As he was running up to an alley, his eyes caught sight of Neji Hyuga round the corner and he shouted, Neji, come on, we're gonna need all the help we can get. Both Neji and Shikamaru were stunned. They couldn't work out how he had seen Neji, but dismissing it for the time being, they both followed him as he ran through the streets, twisting and turning. He followed the signals that his eyes gave him, turning left then right then left again. As he got closer, the signal his eyes gave him started angling upwards, so he jumped. He could see Neji and Shikamaru apparently very surprised at his actions, but they followed nonetheless. Once on the rooftops, his eyes seemed to lock onto someone moving off in the distance. He quickly jumped from rooftop to rooftop, moving on an intercept course with Neji and Shikamaru following along, completely dumbfounded as to how Naruto seemed to know exactly where to go. Naruto quickly jumped from rooftop to rooftop, continually gaining on Sasuke. After around a minute he shouted, Sasuke, over here. Sasuke quickly turned and headed towards Naruto. As soon as he arrived, he noticed a difference in Naruto's eyes. Naruto, what's happened to your eyes? They look like a cross between a strange version of Sharingan, a weird Byakugan, and something else that I've never seen before, said Sasuke. I'm not surprised, my Kekkei Genkai has been activated, replied Naruto. Okay, but why does it look like it's got Byakugan and Sharingan mixed together? Asked Neji. Well, that would be because it is. It's the Kekkei Genkai that both Sharingan and Byakugan descended from. I can probably teach you both to access the most powerful parts of your Kekkei Genkai, replied Naruto. What are you on about, Naruto? There is no more power in the Byakugan, said Neji. And the extra power in the Sharingan can only be unlocked when you have enough chakra to do so, continued Sasuke. Okay then, if you don't believe me, Sasuke, look into my eyes and I'll activate the next stage for you right now, said Naruto. Fine, let's see if you can, replied Sasuke, looking into Naruto's eyes. As he did, Naruto's eyes started to glow, then his felt strange. He blinked, and when he opened his eyes again, the world around him seemed to have slowed down, as though his Sharingan was active, but he couldn't feel any chakra being used by his eyes. It's done, said Naruto, looking away. Okay, that's different, said Shikamaru. What's different? Asked Sasuke. Your eyes, instead of the tailed balls of your normal Sharingan, they're like fishing hooks, 3 of them, said Shikamaru. Your normal Sharingan won't take anywhere near as much chakra to use its abilities, and you've gotten a few new tricks with the Mangekyo Sharingan. I'll activate the next stage when you've gotten used to that one. Now then, Neji, how about I activate your latent abilities? Said Naruto, moving his attention from Sasuke to Neji. You can try, but like I said, there's nothing there, replied Neji, his tone arrogant and as though he knew everything that would ever be need to be known. Alright then, look into my eyes, said Naruto, focusing his eyes on Neji. Neji followed suit, focusing his eyes on Naruto's, which had started to glow again. Neji could feel the chakra behind his eyes creating new pathways, and it felt as though his eyes were changing too. Shikamaru watched amazed. First, Naruto had activated a Kekkei Genkai that he hadn't even heard of. Then he'd advanced Sasuke's Sharingan, and now he could see Neji's eyes develop pupils right in front of his own. They seemed to be changing to be more like normal eyes, but still kept a look of having had Byakugan. They also seemed to take on a slight orange hue to the irises. Well, Neji, I think you can be pretty sure he's done something to them. By the look on your face, I'd say your Byakugan is still active and working fine, but your eyes now look more like normal eyes, he said. There's more than that. You can see objects that are moving too fast for human eyes to see now, and you can also have night vision and can see in infrared, said Naruto. Oh, and how exactly would I do that? Asked Neji. Simple. The fast vision will activate with your Byakugan, and to activate either the night vision or infrared vision, all you have to do is think about which one you want to activate and focus some chakra into your eyes and it'll activate. Once active, you can switch between the two just by thinking about it, said Naruto. Okay, now that that's all sorted, why did we need Sasuke and what are you planning to do? Asked Shikamaru. Well, I'm guessing the second part of the final stage of the Chunin exams went ahead as planned, said Naruto. No, they didn't. Sasuke was given time to recover after the beating he took. The water shinobi that was left was called home because her father had just died, so she was given time to grieve, and with Yumiya, Neji asked Heishi Hyuga to see if he could get them postponed because he wants to prove to you that you're a failure. So they've been put back 3 weeks, but it would seem that Orochimaru decided he wasn't going to wait, said Shikamaru. Double perfect. Okay, Sasuke. Neji, it's time for you to put your new skills to the test. We're going to take down Orochimaru. Shikamaru, can you devise some sort of plan on the way? Said Naruto. Sure, but I gotta say I think you're crazy. Taking on Orochimaru ain't gonna be a walk in the park, ya know, said Shikamaru. We'll see, you just come up with a plan, said Naruto. They once again started leaping from rooftop to rooftop, this time in the direction of the Hokage's tower. Both Sasuke and Neji were finding their eyes far more effective at their normal functions, and they had both realized that along with the new abilities they had gained, they also had a small but noticeable increase in their chakra levels. Naruto lead the way. They'd just landed on a rooftop when 3 sound ninja jumped up onto the other side of it. We don't have time for this, shouted Naruto, continuing to run at the 3 ninja. As he approached, red chakra covered each of his hands and quickly morphed into blades. He put his hands together and they formed a single blade 10 feet long. He brought it down to his right side and swept it round in an arc in front of himself, easily slicing the 3 ninja in half, their bodies quickly falling to the floor with blood spraying everywhere except for some unknown reason the 4 of them, as the chakra blade dissipated and the 4 genin ran past the dead sound ninja. That was your doing, wasn't it? Naruto thought. Gee, you think? The voice said sarcastically. Like you said, you don't have time for that sort of thing, so for now I'll just take control of your arms and use my chakra to solve these little problems. I'll teach you the techniques I use and a few extras either later today or tomorrow. We don't have time for it now, it said. Fair enough. By the way, is there anything more about my Kekkei Genkai that would help? Asked Naruto. Now that you mention it, I think there is, but I can't quite remember. I'll let you know as soon as I can, said the voice. Okay. Now to kick Orochimaru's wimpy, replied Naruto. The 4 genin continued to run at high speed. They could see the Hokage's tower getting closer. After a couple more jumps they could see a barrier on the top of the Hokage's tower, and after 3 more jumps they could see several Anbu Black Ops outside it, apparently unable to get in. Great, how are we going to get through that? Asked Shikamaru in his usual droll. I remember one now, kid. You dispel any barrier regardless of type or strength by merely touching it, said the voice. Great. That's just what we needed, thought Naruto. Don't worry, another part of my Kekkei Genkai means that I can dispel a barrier of any type or strength by just touching it, he told them. Okay, well, I guess that's that problem solved. The best plan of attack is going to be for Sasuke and me to take the back and Naruto and Neji to take the front. Our chance of success is at its best. Around 30%, said Shikamaru. Well, you would be right on our previous power levels, but I think our best chance will be with Sasuke and me up front. We can keep him pinned with very powerful Kekkei Genkai Genjutsu, and whilst he's stuck, you and Neji can hit him from the back. Our chance of success should be nearer 95%, replied Naruto. Why did I even bother come up with a plan if he wasn't going to bother using it? Then again, like he said, I am basing it on what the 3 of them were capable of, not what they are capable of, muttered Shikamaru to himself. Naruto, what are you on about? I don't have a Kekkei Genkai Genjutsu, said Sasuke, quite confused by Naruto's statement. Trust me, Sasuke, you do now, and when the time comes you'll know exactly how to use. I'll use mine first and trap him, then you'll be able to use yours without him even trying to fight it, said Naruto as they landed on top of the Hokage's tower and one of the Anbu turned round to look at them. What are you genin doing here? You're no match for Orochimaru. particularly not you Sasuke Uchiha, as you're the one he's after, said the Anbu wearing an owl mask. Do you want in the barrier to get the Hokage out or not? And I do mean get him out, not fight alongside him. Asked Naruto. We certainly want in the barrier. Why? Asked the Anbu. Then get out the way and leave this to us, said Naruto. The Anbu quickly moved aside. They planned to let them open the barrier. If they could, then they'd knock them out and one of them would take them to safety. Naruto, Sasuke, Neji and Shikamaru walked up to the barrier. Then Sasuke, Neji and Shikamaru stopped just in front of it and Naruto carried on, and soon as it seemed like he was going to hit the barrier face first, the barrier dissipated and he walked on into the second barrier, and to the surprise of the four Anbu, as soon as he hit the barrier it dissipated and all four of the genin disappeared. They quickly hurried inside to look for the Hokage. Naruto appeared in front of the Hokage, standing between him and Orochimaru. It's time you left, Lord Hokage. We'll handle this guy, said Naruto. How can you? He's one of the Sannin, the best of my former pupils. Asked the Hokage, apparently very worried for the safety of the young boys. Relax, we're far stronger than we used to be, said Naruto, looking over his shoulder to smile at the Hokage. It was then that the Hokage saw Naruto's eyes and the change they had undergone, and the realization that the most powerful Kekkei Genkai was once again active and under the control of a loyal member of the Hidden Leaf Village. All right, Naruto, he's all yours. Make him pay for his crimes, said the Hokage, feeling very proud of the young man standing in front of him. After this was done, he would make sure the village knew of his bravery and his Kekkei Genkai, the most powerful to have ever come out of the village hidden in the leaves, the Fuengan. You got it, Hokage, now get clear, said Naruto. Oh, Sarutobi-sensei, you aren't leaving the party already, are you? Asked Orochimaru, his voice light and playful, as though he was inviting the man he was trying to kill back into a birthday party or a disco. Yes, I am Orochimaru. You're going to have your hands full anyway. You remember the nine-tailed fox, don't you? Naruto here is the one that it was sealed in, and he's an Uzumaki. You remember their Kekkei Genkai, don't you? The Fuengan. Well, I suggest you take a good look at his eyes, and of course you know the Sharingan possessed by Sasuke and the Byakugan possessed by Neji Hyuga over there, and of course you should be able to tell a Nara like Shikamaru just by his looks, replied the Hokage with a smile on his face that grew each time he relayed more information to his former pupil and watched his face drop further with each and every piece he heard. No, this can't be. These clans shouldn't even be able to stand being near each other, never mind fight together, said Orochimaru, a look of pure terror on his face. We'll do more than just fight together. We'll fight as a team. We aren't just a few ninja from different clans, we're friends first and foremost, said Naruto, a wide grin on his face. No, that's impossible. The Uchiha and Hyuga elders should have prevented it, cried Orochimaru, despairing more and more with each time he was told something that would never have happened before. I'm one of only 2 remaining Uchihas and I intend to kill Itachi for wiping out the rest of the clan, said Sasuke. Like I'd listen to the elders of the main household, they're the reason my father is dead, said Neji. What can I say? These guys are worth the effort because I know they'd put it in for me, said Shikamaru, a rare smile gracing his lips. And I'm guessing you already know, but just in case you don't, I grew up an orphan, outcast by the village. These guys knew me before knowing about the fox, and they know that the fox doesn't control me, so even now that they know, they don't care and are still my friends. As for my clan's problems with other clans, I couldn't care less. We intend to forge a new future with those problems left in the past, said Naruto, slowly starting to build up his chakra. Hey, how about lending me some chakra to give this guy more layers of realistic genjutsu than he ever imagined normal genjutsu could have? Naruto asked. Now that sounds like fun. Sure thing, take as much as you need, replied the voice. Alright, thanks, Naruto thought, and then started to draw out the chakra and mix it with his own. Then he quickly started focusing the chakra into his eyes. Fuengan style. Visual jutsu, power hunger. Naruto shouted whilst giving a look that seemed to bore into his very soul to Orochimaru, but to Orochimaru nothing seemed to happen. Either this is excellent genjutsu or you just failed miserably, Orochimaru chuckled. Arg, why didn't it work? Naruto said. Well, maybe it did, so just in case I think I'll dispel it, said Orochimaru, putting his hands together to form the genjutsu dispel seal and activating it. The world went black for a moment, then the world reappeared again. Well, it looks like you managed to break the genjutsu, so we're just going to have to take you head on, said the Naruto standing in front of him. Meanwhile, okay Sasuke, get ready. He's broken the first layer of my genjutsu and thinks he's free and clear, said Naruto. They were still standing in the same places they had been in. Orochimaru hadn't actually moved a muscle even to talk. What on earth do you mean, Naruto? Asked Neji. The genjutsu created by Fuengan is so powerful that it creates the illusion purely in the victim's head, as far as Orochimaru believes he's fighting us right now. He's dispelled the first layer and it's taken quite a bit out of him, but he's still got 4 layers to go before he can get out, and each time he's going to need more energy because the fights he'd have would be harder each time, so it gets more and more realistic. But we aren't going to give him that chance. We're about to use the Mangekyo Sharingan that Sasuke has. That'll trap him in a 5th layer of genjutsu again, but it will be fully real to him and Sasuke will have full control of it. And in the meantime, Neji is going to close most of his chakra points. As to date I'm the only one that's been able to reopen them. I doubt he will. And Shikamaru will grab him with his shadow and hold him in place whilst we bind him in place. Once that's done, Sasuke's genjutsu can be deactivated, and by the time he gets out of the final of my genjutsu he'll be nearly dead, that is of course assuming he does. Said Naruto. Alright, Sasuke, go ahead and start, but Naruto, when the hell did you become able to make such a plan with such speed? Asked a very surprised Shikamaru. No idea. I don't have any idea what happened to me in the 2 weeks I've been gone. All I do know is that the 9-tailed fox ain't gonna let me be controlled unless he's the one doing the controlling, which he doesn't seem inclined to do anymore, so whatever they did is only going to be of benefit to me, replied Naruto. Okay, replied Shikamaru as Sasuke began channeling chakra into his eyes for his genjutsu, and Naruto altered his genjutsu so that Sasuke appeared in front of Orochimaru in it. Then Sasuke activated his Mangekyo Sharingan and Orochimaru was caught in the genjutsu. Alright, now Neji, start cutting off his chakra, said Naruto when he knew that Orochimaru was being pounded to hell in Sasuke's genjutsu. Alright, here I go, 8 trigrams, 128 palms, said Neji, then beginning to quickly and accurately slam into 128 of Orochimaru's chakra points, instantly closing each of them, and just as Sasuke finished his genjutsu, Neji finished his attack and Orochimaru fell limp on the floor, exhausted mentally and physically, unable to move. Well, it would seem that you've teamed up rather well to take me out, and your genjutsu worked so well I couldn't even tell it was genjutsu, but do you really think that blocking the chakra points would stop a Sannin? Never mind me. Orochimaru started building up the chakra and tried to push it out, only to find that he couldn't. What have you done to me? He screamed. Just closed off the chakra points around your chakra center so it can't build up enough momentum to break through. The only one who can open them after I've done that is Naruto by using the 9-tailed fox's chakra to overfill his chakra center, forcing them open, said Neji matter-of-factly. Neji and Naruto decided to have a sparring match before he went missing so they could see who was likely to lose in the Chunin exams. It ended in a draw. No, how could you have done that? It's impossible, screamed Orochimaru. Oh, by the way, you're still in a genjutsu, only now you can't dispel it, and slowly but surely your body will die whilst you can do nothing to stop it. Your arms are already gone and your legs will follow shortly, said Naruto. Oh really? Well, I hate to disappoint you there, because as long as I'm still conscious I can still dispel genjutsu, said Orochimaru, doing so as he said this, to realize that now Naruto was actually standing over him holding a kunai to his throat. But just before Naruto could deliver the final blow, the Sound 4 and Kabuto appeared, knocking Naruto away, the Sound 4 each squaring of against one of the Konoha ninja, whilst Kabuto picked up Orochimaru, and then all 4 of them disappeared in a cloud of smoke. Damn, we lost him, said Shikamaru, running forwards into the smoke to look for them. Don't worry about it. His arms are useless now, and it will be quite a while before Kabuto can reopen his chakra points, and that is going to hurt like hell, said Neji. Just then a huge raccoon appeared a short distance from the village limits outside the walls. Looks like I've still got something to take care of, said Naruto with a smile, then he started jumping away in its direction. It's Shukaku, used to wreck a village or two a year alongside him about a century before I ended up in you, replied the voice. Why did you stop? Asked Naruto. He's hardly more than an animal. I really couldn't abide being around him, replied the voice. They were heading for the demon with Sasuke, Neji and Shikamaru. Okay, well, any tips on beating him? Asked Naruto. Actually, yes, summon Arasu, he should take him out without a problem, then I'll teach you a jutsu to seal Shukaku completely, freeing the host from his influence, said the voice. Sounds good to me, but why are you doing all this? Asked Naruto. For this particular one it's because I don't like Shukaku. As for the rest, whilst you were out I did some thinking and decided that since I'm stuck with you I'd rather not have you below your full potential, replied the voice. Okay, well, thanks, replied Naruto. Sasuke, you can move faster than the rest of us, move on ahead and try and slow him down, shouted Naruto. Right, get there as quick as you can, replied Sasuke. When Naruto, Neji and Shikamaru arrived they found that Sakura had tried to follow and defeat Gaara but hadn't been very successful. Then when Sasuke had arrived he tried to help Sakura but Gaara had been too powerful. My gentle fist attacks won't work against him, his sand creates a barrier that stops them getting through, said Neji. I seriously doubt my shadow will hold him, he has too much power, Shikamaru confirmed. Okay, well, don't worry about it. Once I've freed Sakura, grab her, Neji. Shikamaru, you grab Sasuke and get them the hell out of here. I can deal with this guy myself, said Naruto as he started to focus his chakra. Alright, good luck, said Shikamaru. Shadow clone jutsu, shouted Naruto, and in a puff of smoke 9 more Narutos appeared. Time to take out the trash and free Sakura, said one of the Narutos. With the aid of the demon chakra the Narutos were too fast for the bulky Shukaku and it struggled to take down 8, having quickly dispatched one which also sped to remaining 8 up whilst the 9th went to Sakura. Don't worry Sakura, I'll get you out of there, said the real Naruto. Fiend sleep jutsu, shouted Gaara, forming a hand seal. What's he doing? Asked Naruto. He's putting himself to sleep so that Shukaku takes over and controls the body, replied the voice. Any ideas? He asked. Leave it to me, I'm going to implant some more knowledge into your mind. This technique will do 2 things. First, it will cut through the sand barrier, and second, it will disrupt the chakra controlling the sand, preventing it from reforming, replied the voice. Naruto quickly performed 5 seals, then his hands glowed yellow and chakra blades formed on the tips of his fingers. He quickly sliced down each side of Sakura, giving plenty of space to make sure he didn't hit her. The sand holding her then fell apart, its chakra disrupted, freeing her. Neji, take her and get back to the village. I can't afford any friendlies, this could get dangerous, said the Naruto. Okay, come back alive, I still have to beat you in the Chunin exam, Neji joked. We'll see who wins, now go, said Naruto, dispersing his clones. Neji picked up Sakura and jumped away on the tree branches back to the village. With Neji out of the way, Naruto started building his chakra. Summoning jutsu, he shouted, and a huge 8-tailed fox appeared beneath him. You must be the one that holds the fox god. Very well, I am yours to command, said the fox. Huh, Arasu, that you? Said Shukaku. Yes, it is Shukaku, replied the fox. Awesome, you can help me destroy this place then, said Shukaku. No, that won't be happening, Shukaku. My master here is the container of my god and this place is his home. It is the will of my god that I serve him in whatever he wishes to do, and his wish is to stop you, so I will stop you, explained the fox. Well, that sucks. Oh well, at least we can have a fun fight and try and draw it out, replied the sand raccoon. Also not going to happen. This is going to be quick and boring, replied Arasu. He then quickly charged forwards and sliced Shukaku's side as he passed him. Alright, now, we need to wake the Jinchuriki to seal Shukaku's mind back inside. After that we need to take down the Jinchuriki to reseal Shukaku within his body, said Arasu. Never mind that, kid, that's the hard way. I'm going to teach you the seal to permanently seal and silence Shukaku away from the Jinchuriki. This seal can be stored in the palm of your hand as a small blue spiral. Then you release it by placing your hand on the Jinchuriki's head and saying, seal. That will activate the jutsu. It may take a minute or 2 for it to work, but you can back off 3 seconds after you've said seal. After that the jutsu will be in his body and it can't be countered. All that will be left is for the jutsu to take effect, said the voice. Then Naruto found he knew a new set of seals and exactly how to use them. Alright, thanks. Now it's time to take him down, said Naruto, quickly starting the set of 15 hand seals to perform the jutsu. Go for it, kid, said the voice. Then Arasu made another pass of Shukaku, but Naruto couldn't finish the seals in time to jump across, but as the large fox turned round he finished the seals and a small blue spiral appeared on the back of his right hand to mark that the jutsu was stored and ready for use, and as Arasu passed by the raccoon for the third time Naruto jumped off and headed straight for Gaara. While Arasu quickly spun and wrapped himself around the raccoon, latching onto his arms to prevent them from getting Naruto, to give him the time he needed for the seal to be implanted into Gaara's body. Seal! Shouted Naruto as he landed on Shukaku's head and swiftly placed his hand on Gaara's forehead. He then counted 1, 2, 3, 4 seconds. Slowly the spiral disappeared from its tip round to the dot at the center, allowing an extra second to make sure. Naruto then jumped back onto Arasu, who then quickly released his grip on the sand raccoon and moved out the way of his swing. "What did you do?" cried Shukaku, obviously very panicked and confused by what just happened. "Arasu, keep him focused on us. We can't take a chance that he'll figure out what we've done. I want him to think that the technique didn't work. Act as if you're trying to give me another chance to get on and wake Gaara up. Don't get hit but leave enough so that I shouldn't get the opportunity to jump across," said Naruto to the fox. "Okay, this won't be easy, but I'll do what I can, and I do appreciate your concern for my safety," replied the fox as he again charged at the raccoon but moved slightly away as one of the demon's claws swiped at him, avoiding the hit and ensuring that Naruto was unable to jump across to Shukaku's head again. He continued this for around a minute and a half till Shukaku suddenly stopped. "Oh," said the giant raccoon as he suddenly disappeared and Gaara fell towards the floor. Naruto quickly jumped off Arasu and caught the still waking up Gaara. "Thanks for your help, Arasu, you can go now," said Naruto, laying Gaara on the floor. "Thank you. Glad I could help," replied the fox before disappearing in a poof of smoke. Gaara slowly regained consciousness. "Arg, what happened?" he asked. "I resealed Shukaku inside you. You can still access his chakra, but he will no longer be able to influence you. You will be able to sleep soundly from now on," Naruto informed the Sand Ninja. "How did you know his name was Shukaku?" "He doesn't normally tell people his name," asked Gaara. "You aren't the only one with a demon sealed inside them. Only difference is mine is willing to help me. That's how I knew the seal to stop him affecting you. Add to that you only fight for yourself. You never stood a chance because having something to protect is what truly gives you strength," said Naruto. "I'm going to kill you. You haven't beaten me yet," said Gaara, malice apparent in his voice. He then ran forwards and attempted to slash Naruto with a kunai. "Yes, I have, Gaara. I can still summon Arasu again, and your sand can't do anything because I already know how to beat it. Even if you could do something to me, I will always win in the end because I have people to protect," Naruto said matter-of-factly. "Very well, I concede defeat. I cannot match that kind of power," said Gaara, dropping his stance. "Good choice. Now come back to Konoha with me and we'll see about you and your siblings becoming official Konoha shinobi," said Naruto, turning towards Konoha. "Alright, that sounds nice," said Gaara, walking up to stand behind Naruto's right shoulder. They then moved off towards Konoha. Naruto and Gaara had picked up Kankuro and Temari on their way back to Konoha through the forest, and they arrived on the wall that surrounded Konoha where Sasuke, Sakura, Shikamaru and Neji were. Upon seeing the three sand shinobi Sasuke, Shikamaru and Neji instantly got into battle stance, Sakura still being unconscious, to which Temari and Kankuro also got into a ready stance. "Relax, guys, they're going to join Konoha. There's no need to fight," said Naruto, waving his hand. The Konoha ninja remained wary but dropped out of their stances, as did the Sand Ninja. "But first things first," said Naruto, picking Sakura up. "We need to take Sakura to the hospital." He then jumped off the wall and the rest of the Leaf and Sand Ninja followed. "Okay, now that Sakura is safely in the hospital, we need to get an Anbu member to escort these three to the Hokage," said Naruto. He then pulled out a kunai and attached an exploding note to it and threw it into the air. Once it got above the height of the hospital, it exploded. Less than a minute later, two Anbu arrived beside them. "Take these three to the Hokage. They wish to defect to Konoha," said Naruto. One of the Anbu had been one of the four on the roof of the Hokage's tower and had witnessed them take on Orochimaru. He decided to argue. "Alright, but what are you going to do?" he replied. "I think I better go and speak with Heishi Hyuga. He isn't going to be happy to hear that his bloodline and the Uchihas are both derivates of the Uzumaki bloodline, and weaker ones at that," said Naruto. At this Neji and Sasuke nodded in agreement. Alright, well, I think I'll go and talk to our senseis and let them know what's happened, said Shikamaru. Very well, we will take these to the Hokage, said the Anbu, and with that they moved off, Shikamaru heading for the front gate to locate their three Jonin sensei guy, Asuma and Kakashi, to let them know what happened, and Neji lead Naruto and Sasuke to the Hyuga compound. Shikamaru arrived at the part of the wall that had been blown in. He was met with devastation. All around where the bodies of Sound and Leaf Ninja, blood was spattered everywhere. Walls were covered, and instead of the ground being its usually yellowish brown of sand, it was the crimson of blood, completely covered, with bodies piled on top of each other, and more were being piled on with each passing moment as the Jonin and Chunin moved the bodies from other places and put them on the largest of the piles that had already formed. Shikamaru ran up to one of the Jonin pilling bodies up near a nearby house. Hey, have you seen Guy, Kakashi, or Asuma? He asked the Jonin. I did see Guy and Kakashi heading for the main gate, but I haven't seen Asuma for a couple of days now, replied the Jonin. Shikamaru thought he looked somewhat like an older version of Kiba but couldn't be sure. Alright, thanks, Shikamaru said as he started running off in the direction of the main gate. Meanwhile, Neji, came the sound of a girl's voice. It was light and soft. Neji, Sasuke and Naruto stopped on the building they were on but couldn't see where the voice had come from. Then from the side of the building someone jumped up and landed on the roof in front of Neji. The girl had short dark bluish-purple hair. She had on an overly large grayish jacket and black 3/4 length trousers with the dark blue sandals that most ninja wore. Hinata, what are you doing here? Asked Neji curiously. I heard someone mention that they'd heard you'd gone after Orochimaru with Sasuke, Naruto and Shikamaru, so I got a bit worried and came to see if you were alright, she said. It was then that she noticed his eyes. What happened to your eyes, Neji? She asked with more than a little concern in her voice. Yes, we took on Orochimaru, and gave him quite the beating. As for my eyes, Naruto did it. His Kekkei Genkai has been awakened and it has the ability to unlock the full potential of the Byakugan and the Sharingan. Can you awaken hers as well, Naruto? Said Neji. Sure. Look into my eyes, Hinata, said Naruto. Don't faint, he's just going to help you become more powerful. Oh, I hope he sees how I feel, thought Hinata. Naruto looked into her eyes and started channeling chakra into his own, repeating the same procedure he had done with Neji. She loves you, kid, came the voice in his head. How do you know? Asked Naruto, a little miffed, thinking it was just winding him up. 3 things. First, her heart rate skyrocketed the moment she heard your name, and even more when she started looking you in the eye. It's a wonder she's still standing. Second is the scent she gave off as soon as she saw you. She wants you bad. And third, you can see it plain as day in her eyes, said the voice. Okay, so what should I do about it? Asked Naruto. Realize how you feel about her. She'd be an excellent mate for you. Once you've realized your feelings for her, everything else should fall into place, replied the voice plainly. What do you mean? Realize how I feel about her? I don't understand, said Naruto, a little confused. Just search your feelings, you'll see, replied the voice. Naruto started searching his feelings for all the girls in the ninja squads. Sakura. Hot as hell, but she always hit him. Just lust, really. Ino. No way, looks aren't what he likes and she gossips way too much. Everyone would know everything. Hinata. Always shy in the background. Whenever he saw her, she'd be looking at him, and occasionally he'd even found himself trying to catch a glimpse of her. No matter what anyone else said, she always seemed to encourage him and have absolute faith in him that he could never fail. And yes, everyone seemed to be able to get a little stronger when he shouted encouragement to them, but she always seemed to gain far more, as though she just wanted to do the very best she could just for him. Then it seemed to hit him like a sledgehammer to the face. He really cared for her. No, it was more than that even. He wasn't sure, but he thought he might love her, and now he could see it in her eyes. She loved him. Alright, it's done. I'll let Neji explain the new functions of your eyes on the way to the Hyuga compound, said Naruto, but his voice seemed a little different now. There was a feeling in it, but she couldn't quite tell what it was. Then she realized, she could tell what it was, but she couldn't believe it. They carried on jumping across the rooftops. Hinata paid as much attention as she could to Neji. Much as she would have preferred to disappear into her own little world, she knew she needed to know what difference it made to her. And according to Neji, her eyes had also gained pupils and had taken on a light blue hue, not far from the brilliant blue of Naruto's own. Back with Shikamaru. Guy-sensei, Kakashi-sensei, I have news, Naruto is back and it would seem he has a Kekkei Genkai now and it's fully awakened, said Shikamaru running up to the two Jonin standing by the main gate. You're telling us the Fuengan is once again active? Asked Kakashi in a plain voice, but his eyes showed his happiness both at Naruto's return and that he'd managed to activate his Kekkei Genkai. Yeah, and he's already fully advanced Sasuke's Sharingan and Neji's Byakugan. He said that Neji's was maxed but Sasuke had another level beyond it. Hey, how do you know it was called Fuengan? Shikamaru seemed very surprised. I'm one of three that knew of all of Naruto's secrets, one being the fox and another being that he was the last in the line of the Uzumakis and had the potential that he could someday activate it. Where is he now? Replied Kakashi. He's on his way to the Hyuga compound with Sasuke and Neji, said Shikamaru a little curious. Right, well, I better get going then. I'm going to need to be there because Hiashi will just try and pass it off as some cheap trick, and with that he vanished in a puff of smoke. Thanks for bringing us this information, Shikamaru. I'll pass it on to your sensei and the other Jonin, said Guy before disappearing as well. Great, what am I supposed to do now? Said Shikamaru to no one in particular in a very bored voice before jumping onto a rooftop and running off. And now we return to Naruto and the others just as they reached the Hyuga compound. The look on Hiashi's face is going to be a picture. Anyone got a camera handy? Asked Naruto, his trademark smile going from ear to ear. No, but I wish I did, replied Neji with a small smile on his face. Once Neji had finished his explanation, Hinata had dropped to the back of the group and somewhere along the way Sasuke had moved forward to beside Neji whilst Naruto had moved back to beside Hinata, and along the journey they appeared to have gotten quite close. If I were you right now I would not stand so close, we aren't going to want to give him any more reason to blow up at us, said Neji as Hinata blushed crimson and took quite a large step to her left. Then they walked through the large steel gates and into the Hyuga compound. As they entered they could see all around them branch family members training in the gentle fist style. Naruto and Sasuke quickly activated their Sharingan to gather as much information as possible on the gentle fist style and see what they could incorporate into their own. Of course this was a far easier task for Naruto as his Byakugan was also active, allowing him to copy every technique around him in an instant as well as see the way they worked in relation to the chakra points. Soon they arrived at the main building and walked up to one of the doors. Sasuke, Naruto and Hinata stopped and Neji walked up and knocked on the door. Sir, I'm here with Naruto Uzumaki, Sasuke Uchiha and Hinata, we must speak with you, said Neji. Enter, came the gruff male voice of Hiashi from the other side of the door. Neji grabbed the left side of the door and slid the door to the right. Neji, Sasuke, Naruto and Hinata walked in and then Hinata turned round and slid the door closed behind her. What is so important that you came here and brought them with you? Said Hashi with his eyes closed, referring to Naruto and Sasuke. If you had bothered to open your eyes, father, you would already know why we are here, said Hinata. Seemingly gaining worlds of confidence just by sitting by Naruto, Hiashi opened his eyes and shortly thereafter his mouth when he saw their eyes, the two pairs of now pupilled and hued Hyuga eyes, Sasuke's Mangekyo Sharingan and Naruto's brilliant blue with almost unmarked irises. Unmarked other than five-sided stars that formed a pentagram within his eye that denoted the Fuengan Kekkei Genkai, and Hiashi knew the significance of it. Like the rest of the village, he thought the Fuengan Kekkei Genkai of the Uzumakis had been wiped out as it always had to be taught out and no member had ever been able to spontaneously activate it without the help of another member of their clan, that is until now. So you have activated the Fuengan, and for the first time in 1,000 years you have used it to increase the power of both the Byakugan and the Sharingan, said Hiashi closing his eyes again. Very well. You will now have the full backing of the Hyuga clan, and Neji, come forward and kneel before me. Neji stood up and walked in front of Hiashi. He then knelt down in front of him. Hiashi then closed his eyes and focused his chakra. He then made 5 hand seals in rapid succession and opening his eyes said, "Dispel." Now Neji, your caged bird seal has been removed and you are part of the main household. Come and see me tonight. I have a letter from your father for you. Sasuke, the Uchiha and the Hyuga have never previously gotten on, but I know Neji holds your skill in high regard. You are always welcome here and I hope that this brings in a new era of friendship between our clan and you, the last Uchiha, and your future clan. Thank you, Hiashi. I am glad that the past of our clans was one thing that died with the rest of my clan, and rest assured I will be the last of the true Uchiha until Itachi is dead. Only then can I look to rebuilding my clan, replied Sasuke, bowing low. Neji had been shocked but now spoke. Why have you removed my seal? He asked. Because this is a new era and our clan needs you to be able to learn all our techniques. Though I cannot make you heir, I am sure you are worthy of the status of being a main branch member. Do not trouble yourself with the clan elders, I will deal with them myself, replied Hiashi. I think it's time we left. Thank you for your backing, sir, said Naruto, getting up and bowing. Very well. I look forward to watching your progress. I am sure you will do well, said Hiashi. Hinata and Sasuke got up and bowed to Hiashi and then followed Naruto out the door. Once outside, Sasuke said, I'm not sure what to do now. All my plans have gone out the window, but I have a feeling that we'll be called to see the Hokage soon enough. You're probably right. Why don't you go and let Sakura know what happened, said Naruto. Yeah, alright, I'll see you later, said Sasuke. Then he jumped up to the wall that bordered the Hyuga compound and away on the rooftops of Konoha. So what do you want to do now? Naruto asked, and Hinata nearly fell over in shock. He wanted to do something with her, and he wanted to know what she wanted to do. She managed to regain her composure. She thought about everything she dreamed of doing with Naruto if she had the chance. Then she realized that in all the trouble and excitement she'd forgotten to eat and was actually rather hungry. I'm not sure. Get something to eat maybe, she said, hoping that it would be okay with him. Sounds great. I think we'll go to a restaurant I know. Shall we call it a date? Naruto replied, and as soon as he asked Hinata if she wanted to say it was a date, she fainted. She couldn't believe her luck, her first real date with Naruto, and he had asked her. Naruto spent the next 10 minutes trying to bring her round and keep her conscious, as every time he brought her round she remembered that she was about to go on her first date with Naruto and fainted again. When she was finally awake again, they got going. They jumped onto the wall and off onto the roofs. They traveled around 4 streets into an area with some quite expensive restaurants, and when Naruto and Hinata jumped down and walked over to one of the most expensive restaurants, Hinata fainted again. And again for around 15 minutes. This time Naruto had to keep bringing her round for her to faint again. Finally she was awake and they walked into the restaurant. We will not serve you, so you might as well go, said the waiter to Naruto, the malice in his voice apparent, before he saw Hinata. So you won't serve the escort of a member of the Hyuga clan? Come on then, Naruto, I guess we'll just have to go and tell my father that I couldn't get lunch whilst he trained Neji and Hanabi, said Hinata, and the waiter's jaw immediately dropped. He started stammering as he tried to apologize profusely when he saw Hinata. I'm sorry ma'am, I didn't realize he was with you. Please come this way, said the waiter. If I find that you've treated him this way ever again, then the weight of the Hyuga clan will crush this restaurant. Naruto has their full backing, said Hinata, and despite her firmness her voice was still soft. Understood ma'am, I will inform all our staff and it will never happen again, replied the waiter. Now that that's settled, what can you recommend for today? I'd like something not on the menu. I'm sure your chef knows at least a couple of dishes, said Hinata, still with a firm voice. Actually, I think I know one that may be of interest. It was a dish the chef made on the request of the 4th Hokage. Would you like to try it? Asked the waiter whilst seating them at a table for 2. Yes, I think that will be fitting, said Hinata kindly. Naruto and Hinata small talked until the food arrived, just talking about the weather and the attack that happened earlier. When the food arrived they sat silently eating, although around halfway through Hinata somewhere found the courage to manage to start playing footsie with Naruto under the table, which surprised Naruto, but he was more than happy to return the gesture. In the events of Sasuke, he jumped from rooftop to rooftop. He had one destination in mind. Beyond that he had no idea where Sakura might be, but he would find her. As he traveled he thought about her. She was a beautiful girl, but he couldn't afford a relationship. It was too risky. Anyone that was too attached could get in the way when he went after Itachi, and that wouldn't do. Anyone who wanted to be close to him had to be able to let him go and stay out of his way. He knew Naruto could. Even if he was there he'd just cheer from the sidelines, and like everyone that knew Naruto well, if he was cheering for you, you couldn't explain how, but you always got stronger, and he knew that Naruto would only step in when he was dead, and only God could help Itachi at that point. He knew that Naruto was far stronger than him, particularly now. and since Naruto had all the skills of the Mangekyo Sharingan and the Byakugan rolled into one with a few bonuses added to that, and with the nine-tailed fox sealed inside him, there was virtually no limit to his chakra stores. Before he knew it, Sasuke was at the street with Sakura's house and her parents' shop on. He jumped down from the roof and walked over to the shop. He saw Sakura inside and knocked on the window. She looked round and saw him, a warm smile forming on her face. He still couldn't deny she was pretty, but his mind was still too set on his goal to give it a second thought beyond, well, maybe when I'm done with Itachi. She then walked out of the shop. Hey Sasuke, what's up? She asked warmly. How are you? He asked. Better since you saved me and took me to the hospital, replied Sakura. It wasn't me that saved you. I was as powerless as you were. It was Naruto. It was also him that took you to the hospital, said Sasuke looking down. Oh, is there any other reason you came by? Asked Sakura. Actually yeah, I'm here to fill you in on some recent events, replied Sasuke. I'm leaving this here and moving somewhere else. I'm pretty sure you don't want to hear the same story again, and I sure as hell can't be arsed retyping it. What happened to Kakashi? He appeared in the main room of the Hyuga house in a poof of smoke. As it cleared, he could see Neji and Hiashi Hyuga but no one else. Well, it would appear that I'm a little late, he said, stepping out of the smoke. Sorry for the intrusion, Hiashi, he continued, bowing. You say it as though it's something unusual, Kakashi. I have already spoken to both Sasuke and Naruto. I am hopeful that we will see a new age of cooperation and friendship between the clans. Naruto has been given the full backing of the Hyuga clan. I didn't tell him, but this will include when it comes time for a new Hokage, although I have a feeling he won't be the 5th Hokage, although it would have been ironic if he had. Oh, and Kakashi, please remember that you are always welcome here as long as you are using the doors, replied Hiashi. Right, sorry about that, and thank you for your assistance to Naruto. I'm sure my sensei would be thanking you as well if he were here. I'll be going now. You wouldn't happen to know where Naruto or Sasuke went, would you? Asked Kakashi. Actually I would. Sasuke has gone to find Sakura and tell her what's happened, and Naruto took my daughter to lunch. I think they make a wonderful couple, Hiashi said with a knowing look to Kakashi. Thank you again for all your help, Hiashi. I think I'll go find Sasuke and Sakura, said Kakashi before disappearing in a poof of smoke. Did you forget about Shikamaru? Well, I didn't. Now to see what he got up to. Man, where the hell could Asuma sensei be? He muttered, jumping from rooftop to rooftop. Oh well, might as well go and find Ino and Choji and tell them what's happened, he said, changing his direction and heading for the flower shop that Ino's parents owned. Arriving at the flower shop, Shikamaru went in. He saw Ino in the far corner arranging roses in a vase. Hey Ino, listen, can you spare some time? We need to find Choji. I've got something I need to tell you both. He asked. Sure, Shikamaru. Ino said. Mom, I'm taking off for a while, she shouted. Alright, see you later, they heard from the back of the shop, then they walked out into the street. Now let's go and find Choji. Any idea where he is? Asked Shikamaru. As a matter of fact, I do. He's at the Big Beef Grill restaurant with his dad, replied Ino. Okay, shoulda known that you'd know. Okay, let's go get him, said Shikamaru. Ino nodded and they jumped onto the rooftops and away. Back to Naruto and Hinata. They walked out of the restaurant and were greeted by an Anbu Black Ops squad. Naruto Uzumaki, you are to come with us, and judging by the difference in appearance of your eyes, Miss Hyuga, I think it would be best if you came along as well. Don't worry about Sasuke, Neji and Shikamaru, we've dispatched teams to pick them up too. The 3rd Hokage wishes to see you, said the leader wearing a squirrel mask. Very well, let's go then, said Naruto. Then Hinata and the 4 Anbu members moved off to the Hokage's tower at great speed. 5 minutes later, Naruto and Hinata walked along the corridor to the Hokage's office. As they arrived, the 3 sand ninja emerged wearing leaf head protectors where their sand ones had been. So the 3 of you are part of Konoha now. That's good. Hopefully see you around later, Tamari, Kankuro, Gaara, said Naruto. Yes we are, and I think we shall definitely be seeing each other, said Gaara in a voice that had a strange hint of happiness to it, to which his siblings were quite surprised to hear. They then carried on and Naruto and Hinata walked into the Hokage's office. Ah, Naruto, I'm glad that you've finally been able to awaken your clan's legendary abilities. As you saw, even Orochimaru is sacred of them. I also see that you have enhanced Hinata's Byakugan and I understand you have enhanced Neji's Byakugan and even Sasuke's Sharingan to Mangekyo Sharingan. I intend to inform the village of what you have done and the Kekkei Genkai you have, said the third. No, don't tell the village. It might not be fair on the rest, but it's more trouble than it's worth for me. If they heard I had even had a hand in defeating Orochimaru, they would immediately think that the fox was starting to take control of me. No, I'd prefer the village not know I had anything to do with it, and besides Heishi has given me the backing of the Hyuga clan, so that should make life a little easier, replied Naruto. During the course of the conversation, Hinata had moved forward and to the side of Naruto, and by the end of it was holding his hand. The third had noticed this, but taking what Naruto had just said into account, he realized that chances were that Heishi would actually be very pleased with this. Very well then, Naruto, the village will not be told. Now all that remains is for the rest to arrive, said the third. With Sasuke and Sakura. Sasuke had just finished telling Sakura everything that had happened. He had also switched his Mangekyo Sharingan off, so Naruto has a Kekkei Genkai. Your Sharingan has been advanced to a higher stage of it called Mangekyo Sharingan by Naruto, and he has also enhanced Neji and Hinata's Byakugan. Sakura was repeating what Sasuke had just told her in short to make sure she had heard him right. Yes, said Sasuke. Just then Kakashi appeared in front of them. Well, I finally found you, Sasuke. I hear Naruto activated your Mangekyo Sharingan and that his Fuengan is active too, is that right? Asked Kakashi, to which Sasuke's only reply was to look him in the eye and activate his Mangekyo Sharingan. Okay, so I heard right then, said Kakashi. Then three Anbu appeared. Kakashi Senpai, Sasuke Uchiha, Sakura Haruno, please come with us, the Hokage wishes to see you, said the Anbu wearing a rabbit mask. Alright, let's get going then, said Kakashi. Sakura and Sasuke stood up and then the two genin and four Anbu disappeared. To Shikamaru. No way, so Naruto has a Kekkei Genkai and is now even more powerful than Sasuke or Neji. I can't believe that, Shikamaru, said Ino. That Naruto, he sure is something, said Choji. Just then four Anbu appeared around them. Shikamaru, Nara, have you told these two about what has happened? Asked one of the Anbu. Yes, replied Shikamaru. Very well then, Shikamaru, Nara, Choji Akamichi and Ino Yamanaka, you are to come with us, said the Anbu. Alright, let's go see what the Sandaime wants, said Shikamaru, and with that they all disappeared. 10 minutes later in the Hokage's office. Now that everyone has been assembled, first and foremost, Naruto has asked that the exact details of these incidents remain hidden because, as you all know, he contains the spirit of the nine-tailed fox and many of the older villagers can only see the demon and not the Naruto we all know. As such, I would like ask if anyone here would have an objection to me doing the same thing as when the four genin teams were assembled here to be told of the demon within Naruto, said the Hokage, thinking back to that day just after the completion of the forest part of the Chunin exams. Flashback begins. The senseis had finished congratulating their teams on passing the Chunin exams so far, then they each brought their teams to the Hokage's office. Now there is a very good reason why you've all been brought here. It is in regards to Naruto Uzumaki. What I'm about to tell you does not leave this room. All of your senseis have agreed that knowing this will not affect how you treat him, and this information is classified as S-class, said the Hokage very solemnly, looking at the genin assembled before him, including a very worried-looking Naruto at the back. As you all know, 12 years ago the nine-tailed fox attacked this village. You were told that it was defeated and led to believe that it had been killed. That is not entirely true. Yes, it was defeated at the cost of the fourth Hokage's life, but it could not be destroyed. Instead, it was sealed within the body of a newborn child. It was the fourth's wish that this child, like himself, would be treated like a hero. However, the people of the village did not hold to his wishes, instead only seeing the demon instead of the child. That child is Naruto, said the third. All of the genin except Naruto looked shocked. Naruto hung his head, expecting to see the same stares of hatred and disgust as he saw from the rest of the village. Then he felt something he hadn't expected, a hand resting on his shoulder. He looked up. You know, Naruto, we already know you couldn't be the demon within you. After all, I doubt a demon would have such an aptitude for practical jokes, said Sasuke. The looks on the rest of the faces in the room emulated the same sentiments. You are our friend and comrade. We will not fail you when you need us most. Thank you all. I am glad to see that I have made the right decision in telling you, said the Hokage. End flashback. No, Lord Hokage, I don't think anyone here would have any objections. We have all seen the looks the villagers give him and have often heard him be referred to as the demon brat, and this to them would only confirm their suspicions, said Neji. Yes, I think that this should also be an S-class secret. We'll leave it to you to decide the cover story, said Shikamaru. But what about Kiba, Akamaru, Shino, Tenten and Bushy Brows? They should be told as well, said Naruto. Very well, Naruto. The arrangements will be made for them to be informed of the events and the details of their classification, said the third. Now you may all go, except you, Naruto, I need to speak to you. He finished. Then all except Naruto, Hinata and Kakashi left the room. I see, said the Hokage. Very well, then I will inform you as well, Jiraiya, said the third, and the Sannin appeared next to him. Yes, sensei, said Jiraiya. Now then, I have decided that it is once again time I retired, and I believe that Tsunade would be the best person to take over the position of Hokage, said Sarutobi. But Lord Hokage, we have no idea where she is, said Kakashi. That's why I want Jiraiya to take Naruto and go and look for her. You have 2 weeks, said the Hokage. I have one request. I want Hinata to come with us as well, said Naruto. The third seemed to think about this for a few moments. Very well then, take her as well, and Jiraiya, she's a Hyuga, so treat her well, said Sarutobi. Understood, Sarutobi sensei, said the Sannin. He then turned to Naruto and Hinata. You two go home and get packed. Meet me at the front gate in 2 hours, he said to the genin. Okay, Aro Sennin. Let's go, Hinata, said Naruto. What have I told you about calling me that? Screamed the Sannin to Naruto and Hinata's backs. Take care of him, Jiraiya. I'm counting on you to look after your student's legacy, said Kakashi before vanishing. Well, Heishi, I think I better explain what's happening whilst Hinata collects what she needs, said Naruto, kneeling in front of the Hyuga head. The Hokage has asked that I accompany the Aro Sennin Jiraiya to find Lady Tsunade and ask her to be the next Hokage, and I have requested that Hinata accompany us, he explained. Very well then, I assume that he intends to teach you something along the way. Will Hinata also be allowed to learn it if she can? Asked Heishi, concerned that Hinata would be going along for no reason other than to keep Naruto company and would miss out on an opportunity to train, although when he thought about it, Naruto would train on his own if need be and likely would have Hinata train with him, which would help her gain more skill with the new Byakugan. He still didn't know what it was called. He made a mental note to ask Naruto at a later time. Even if he won't train her himself, I'll train with her and do my best to teach her any techniques he teaches me, said Naruto, hoping that it would be enough. How would you like Hinata to be able to summon foxes? I'm sure that damn pervert would try and make her sign the contract for toads if she doesn't, said the voice. Yeah, I think that would be a good idea, but that's only if she wants to sign it, so how would I go about it? Asked Naruto. Don't worry about it now, I'll tell you when we get to your flat, said the voice. Alright then, please take care of her, Naruto, said Heishi. Of course, sir, replied Naruto, bowing. Just then Hinata came into the room. I'm ready to go, Naruto. Goodbye, father, she said. Have a safe trip, replied Heishi. Then the two genin bowed and left. Welcome to my home, Hinata, said Naruto as he opened the door. His apartment was spotless. Of course, that was because after Hinata had gone in to get her things on his way to speak to Heishi, Naruto had created a shadow clone and sent it to clean his apartment. When it arrived, it created another 4 shadow clones and they quickly got to work making sure that it was clean and tidy. He didn't want Hinata to see his home in its usual state. It's nice, Naruto, said Hinata. Naruto, sighing mentally that his clones had done a good enough job and she liked it, he resolved to make sure that it wouldn't get into that state again. I'm glad you like it, Hinata, replied Naruto, moving towards his bedroom to pack his things. Naruto, said Hinata. Naruto, thinking that she wanted somewhere to sit and wait for him, cut in before she continued. If you go through the second door, there's a sofa you can sit on, he said. Actually, Naruto, said Hinata, blushing lightly and tapping her extended index fingers together. Naruto looked out of his room. What is it, Hinata? He asked. Hinata was struggling but decided that since he was the one that had basically asked her on their first date, she would take a chance. Are we going out now? She asked, turning a shade of red previously only seen on tomatoes. If that's what you want, Hinata, said Naruto, turning back into his room to continue collecting his things before hearing a loud thud from his hallway. He looked out again to see that Hinata had fainted again, so he walked into the hallway, picked her up bridal style, and then carried her back into his room, gently laying her his bed before continuing to collect his things. They still had around an hour, so he was in no rush to wake her before he was ready to go. 5 minutes later, Hinata woke up, not quite sure where she was. Then she remembered asking Naruto if they were going out, and then on remembering his reply she once again blushed the red of a tomato, but didn't faint. She decided it best to find out where she was, since she was quite sure she wasn't still in the hall. Upon realizing that she was laying on a bed and promptly putting two and two together and realizing it was in fact Naruto's bed, she promptly fainted again. So how do I let Hinata sign the summoning contract for foxes? Asked Naruto. Simple. Write the kanji for white fox on your left arm. I'm going to give her a slightly different one to yours. You can summon any kind of fox, even the black and the water-based blue foxes, to your aid, but Hinata is going to be able to summon white and blue foxes. They aren't as powerful as the red or black in outright strength, but they are faster and quicker to adapt to match what the summoner needs them for, as well as being somewhat more tactful than cunning, replied the voice. Naruto did as he was told and wrote the kanji for white fox on his left arm. Now what? He asked. Normally, to create a summoning contract you would need a drop of blood from the kind of animal for the contract, but since I am god of the foxes and my blood is mixed within your veins, by merely smearing your own blood on the kanji you can summon any kind of contract that I choose to give you. In this case it will be for both the white and blue foxes, said the voice. Naruto then bit his thumb and smeared his blood across the kanji he had put on his arm. A poof of white smoke appeared, and when it cleared, the kanji on his arm was gone, and on the floor under his arm was a scroll. It was bigger than an average scroll, but not as big as the toad summoning scroll Jiraiya carried. Around 10 minutes later, Naruto had finished packing and was ready to go. All that was left was to wake Hinata. Trying to think of the best way to wake her up, he didn't think that she'd be happy being slapped or soaked, and he no longer thought that shaking her was a very good idea either. Then the strangest idea, at least to him, came to him. He decided to kiss Hinata, and so he kneeled down next to the bed, leant over and kissed Hinata on the lips, holding it. Hinata awoke feeling someone kissing her. She didn't open her eyes immediately. She hoped it wasn't a dream. Then her mind ran through last few events and she opened her eyes wide in shock. It was then she realized that it was in fact Naruto kissing her. She felt her face once again glow red, but to her surprise she didn't faint. She slowly closed her eyes again and returned the kiss. After realizing that Hinata was awake and returning the kiss, Naruto held the kiss a little longer and then he pulled away, looking down on Hinata, the blush now only lightly gracing her cheeks. Thank you, Naruto. That was the best wake up I've ever had, said Hinata, her eyes still closed. You're welcome. Listen, how would you like to be able to summon creatures? Said Naruto, helping Hinata to sit up on the bed with her legs hanging of the side. What kind of creatures, Naruto? Asked Hinata. White and blue foxes, said Naruto. Oh, okay. How? Asked Hinata. Just sign your name in blood on this scroll and then put blood on your hand and do these hand seals. Slam your hand on the floor and say summoning jutsu, said Naruto, performing the jutsu slowly so that Hinata could see it. Then there was a poof of white smoke and a white fox with a black tips on its tail and ears around the same size as Akamaru appeared. Hey, I'm Byakugan, said the fox. Its voice was light and quite high. Aye, it's so cute, said Hinata softly. I like you, said Byakugan to Hinata. In Naruto, let me sign the contract, said Hinata. Naruto then lifted up the contract and unrolled it on the bed. Hinata bit her thumb and signed her name where Naruto pointed to on the contract. Okay, now you try summoning Byakugan, said Naruto as the fox disappeared. Hinata then smeared blood on her palm as Naruto had done and went through the seals, then put her hand on the bed and a poof of smoke appeared again. I'm Byakugan, said the small fox in a sing-song manner. Wow, I did it, Naruto, said Hinata happily. Well done, Hinata, said Naruto, hugging her. This caused her to blush crimson, but to her surprise she didn't faint. Come on, I need to collect a few supplies before we need to go and meet Ero Sennin, said Naruto as he stood up and stretched out his hand to help Hinata up off the bed. Hinata accepted Naruto's waiting hand. Getting up off the bed, returned Byakugan to the summoning plane and walking with Naruto to the front door, they picked up their bags, put their sandals on and walked out the front door. 1 hour later at the main gate. Where is he? He's almost as bad as Kakashi-sensei, said Naruto standing next to Hinata holding her hand. I'm sure there's a good reason why he's late, Naruto, said Hinata quietly. I doubt it, probably peeping on girls, said Naruto. He then activated his Fuengen and used the Byakugan part to look for the Toad Sage. As he was looking around, something caught his attention, but he couldn't quite see it even with the Byakugan. It had looked like someone who was invisible and suppressing their chakra. He decided to double check, so he activated his infrared vision and checked the same place, and sure as day he saw the outline of Jiraiya radiating heat and walking towards them. A minute or so later he watched as Jiraiya walked past them. What are you trying to do, Ero Sennin, said Naruto, sounding anything but amused. Jiraiya was stunned. He knew even the Hyuga's Byakugan could only barely see him with his invisibility jutsu on, so Hinata shouldn't have been able to see him. Then he remembered that Naruto now had the Fuengen and realized that was why he hadn't been able to sneak past. He could hide his chakra but not his heat. Should have known better than to try and sneak by a Fuengen user, said Jiraiya, standing with one hand scratching the back of his head. Yeah, you should have, said Naruto. Sorry to keep you waiting. Now before we go, have either of you ever trained with weights before? Asked Jiraiya. No, Ero Sennin, said Naruto, a little confused. Hinata just shook her head. Alright then, well, starting now you will each carry 5 kgs on each limb to begin with, and I'll increase to weights as and when I see fit. You will also wear these vests. They absorb chakra, so you can't use it to help you carry 2 weights. Hinata, you will wear 1 and Naruto will wear 3, said Jiraiya, pulling 4 black vests and 8 weight bands out of his bag. How come I have to wear more vests? Moaned Naruto. Because you have a higher chakra capacity than anyone else your age, so this balances it out, said Jiraiya. Naruto and Hinata then took their jackets off and put the vests on, and then the wrist weights, then they put the ankle weights on. Okay, Ero Sennin, we're done, now let's get going, said Naruto impatiently, and with that they set off along the road. Half an hour later. So Ero Sennin, when are you going to teach us some new jutsus? Asked Naruto. We're going to start with some basic techniques, starting with the one I was using when I arrived at the main gate. It's an invisibility jutsu that's excellent for sneaking around and gathering information, said Jiraiya. Why would we want to learn that? Asked Naruto, unsure about the true motives of the technique's creation. He did understand how it could be useful, just not to him. Because Naruto, you need to learn the other elements of being a ninja. Yes, so far your strategy of hit it till it breaks has worked so far, but that will not always be the case. It also makes it easy to escape, to recover, as well as to sneak up on enemy shinobi even in the middle of battle. If timed correctly with some other event, you can make them think that you've put them in a genjutsu even though you haven't, Jiraiya informed them. So how do we do it, Ero Sennin? Asked Naruto, activating the Sharingan part of the Fuengen. Jiraiya then performed 3 hand seals in quick succession and disappeared from view. With the Sharingan abilities active, Naruto could easily replicate the technique and did so to prove it. Not bad, Naruto, but Hinata, activate your Byakugan, said Jiraiya. Okay, said Hinata, activating her Kekkei Genkei. Now Hinata, who can you see? Asked Jiraiya, smiling. I can see Naruto clearly, said Hinata. And what about me? Asked Jiraiya. I can see you, but only just Ero Sennin, said Hinata softly. Arg, you told her to call me that, didn't you, Naruto? Screamed Jiraiya. Of course, Ero Sennin, it is the truth after all, Naruto said, his trademark smile on his face. Anyway, as Hinata said, you can do the jutsu itself, but you haven't mastered the rest of the jutsu. In order to get the full potential from this jutsu, you need to be able to suppress your chakra whilst maintaining the jutsu. Otherwise, even though you are invisible, it is still possible for people like Hinata and Sasuke to see you, and others that can sense chakra with more ease can find your position. As it happens, I have a task for both of you to help with this, said Jiraiya, deactivating the jutsu. He then pulled out 2 water balloons. What are they for? Asked Naruto, deactivating the jutsu himself and looking a little lost. This is the first stage in learning a technique left for us by the 4th Hokage. You need to spin your chakra to pop the balloon, said Jiraiya, handing them each a water balloon. Okay, well, that sounds simple enough, replied Naruto, brimming with confidence as usual. Then it shouldn't take too long then. Now come on, you can practice whilst we walk, said Jiraiya, starting to walk off down the road. Naruto and Hinata followed soon after. each starting to try and burst the water balloon by spinning the water with their chakra. It was slightly easier for them as they could both see the chakra moving around in the balloon, but they still found it difficult to get the balloon to burst. Damn it, I can't get it to burst. Hey Arrow Sennin, why don't you show us how to do it? Asked Naruto. What with your abilities? No way, it would be way too easy for you to see how to do it and just copy it. You would be able to do it right, said Jiraiya looking back over his shoulder. What do you mean? Of course we did right, and how are we supposed to be able to get anywhere near it, if we don't know what it is we're trying to do? Whined Naruto. No, you wouldn't, because your chakra control isn't good enough. This will teach you as well as help you with your other jutsu. In fact, I have an idea. Both of you lift up your tops and show me your stomachs, said Jiraiya. Both genin looked a little confused but complied, Hinata blushing heavily. Jiraiya then created the 5-pointed seal that he had previously removed from Naruto in both hands and used it on them. What did you do to us, Arrow Sennin? Asked Naruto. I put a seal on you that will make it difficult to use chakra. It's the same one I took of you when I taught you to walk on water, replied the Sannin. Enter flashback. Naruto got up from the bushes he had been thrown into and walked back over to the old man. What did you do that for? He asked. Try walking on water now, replied the old man. Naruto was skeptical but complied. Hey, I can do it, he shouted, jumping up and down on the water. He walked back to the bank after calming down. Hey Arrow Sennin, what did you do? Asked Naruto. How many times do I have to tell you not to call me that? My name is Jiraiya, shouted the man. Anyway, around the seal that regulated the demon's chakra going into your body, I noticed another seal designed to disrupt it, making it hard for you to control its chakra and your own. My guess is it was put there by a man called Orochimaru, replied Jiraiya. Oh, so that's what he did. Hey, how do you know Orochimaru? Said Naruto. He's a Sannin like me. There are only 3 Sannin. We were all teammates at one time, trained by the Hokage, so of course I'm going to know him, replied the Sannin. Exit flashback. What? Why have you put that on us? Screamed Naruto. Because if you master this technique whilst you are restrained by it, when you're done your chakra control will be excellent, replied Jiraiya. Makes sense I guess, but I still don't like it, moaned Naruto. Now come on and keep practicing. If you can make it to the second stage in 2 days I'll take it off, said Jiraiya. He wasn't sure whether he actually would or wouldn't yet, but at least if Naruto had a target to work at he would manage with more easy. Alright, I'll be done by this time tomorrow, said Naruto, brimming with confidence. Hinata blushed, admiring his confidence and deciding that she would try and do it at least as quickly if not quicker, in hopes that he would recognize her, having not quite allowed herself to believe that he actually cared for her yet. That evening, they had arrived at their destination earlier on that night. Naruto had managed to persuade Jiraiya, bribed of course, and Hinata that it would be fine if they shared a room, but had also agreed that it should be a twin, not a double. That night he and Hinata had continued to practice the jutsu whilst Jiraiya had gone out to find information on Tsunade and conduct some research. They were getting closer to the point they had really started at before Jiraiya put the seals on them. Hey kid, said the voice. What is it? Asked Naruto. Just thought you'd want to know that if we get into trouble I'll be able to negate the effects of the seal, but only for about 20 minutes, so we'd have to finish it up quickly, said the voice. Glad to hear it. I have to protect Hinata. Whilst you're here, any guesses as to what the technique is or how to do it? Asked Naruto. Yes, on both counts, but I believe that Arrow Sennin was correct in his decision. This will be a far better way. As far as I know it's similar to the method the fourth first used to create it in the first place. And before you ask, yes, I do know what it looks like and how it's done. When you're a demon you kinda learn those things when you see an attack being used on you, replied the voice. Okay, well thanks anyway, said Naruto. The neat morning. Konoha. 2 figures wearing black cloaks with red clouds on them and straw hats, one with something wrapped in bandages on his back, walked into Konoha, apparently using a henge and false papers to gain access. As they walked by the river flowing through Konoha, their path was blocked by 2 Jonin, Asuma Sarutobi and Kurenai Uehi. Well, now who do we have here? Asked Asuma. Looks like a couple of troublemakers. What's your business back in Konoha, Itachi Uchiha? Said Kurenai. That is not your concern, replied Itachi, dispelling his henge. Then the second person walked forward. No, we are not here for a confrontation, Kisame, he said to his companion. Well now, Kisame Hoshigaki, one of the 7 shinobi swordsmen of the mist, listed in the bingo book for assassination and attempted treason, said Asuma. That is also not your concern. If you leave us be, we shall cause no trouble. I am here purely for, reminisce Sake, stated Itachi. Somehow I find that very hard to believe, said Asuma as he and Kurenai dropped into stances ready for battle. I can see we're going to have to do this the hard way, said Itachi. Just then 2 squads of Anbu and Kakashi appeared around them. Itachi Uchiha, you and your companion are to come with us, and powerful as you may be, I doubt that you could manage to take us all down or flee from us all, said Kakashi. Very well then, said Itachi, and with that they left. Half an hour later, Kurenai and Asuma are sitting in Kakashi's apartment whilst Kakashi lies unconscious in the bed. Then the door opens and Sasuke walks in. What happened to him? He's supposed to be training me, demanded Sasuke. Just then a Chunin ran in. I heard that Itachi Uchiha came back and he's after Naruto Uzumaki, is that right? He asked quickly before checking who was in the room. Sasuke's eyes shot wide open whilst Asuma and Kurenai quickly looked at the Chunin, narrowing their own. You heard right, said Asuma, knowing that Sasuke would know if he was lying with the Sharingan even if the Chunin didn't. Half a second later Sasuke was out the door and heading for the town that he knew. Naruto, Hinata and Jiraiya were going to stop in first. Great. Now go and tell Guy what just happened here. He's going to need to go after Sasuke, said Asuma, and with that the Chunin immediately turned and ran out the door in search of Guy. 2 hours later, Hinata and Naruto are in the hotel practicing the technique. Their progress has been slow but steady. A sudden knock on the door disturbs them from their practice. You keep practicing, Hinata. I'll answer the door, said Naruto, getting up. Hinata then resumed her practice. Another knock on the door. All right, I'm coming, said Naruto. Damn arrow Sennin, he muttered under his breath. He got to the door and opened it, but to his surprise it was not Jiraiya standing in front of him but 2 men. One that looked like he could be an older version of Sasuke and another who looked very strange to Naruto. With blue skin, no apparent nose and 2 V's under each eye. His eyes were a little like Hinata's had been before he changed them, but instead of being a sort of cream with no pupils they were white with very small pupils, and his teeth were showing even though his mouth was closed, strange large triangular teeth. Naruto Uzumaki, come with us, said the one that looked like Sasuke. And why should I do that? Replied Naruto. Yep, he's just as I thought, stubborn and mouthy, thought Itachi, but Itachi was prevented from any more thoughts by a familiar voice shouting at him. Itachi, I'm here to kill you. I've lived my life just as you said, filled with hate, anger and rage at you, shouted Sasuke, charging up his Chidori. He then ran at Itachi. Foolish, thought Itachi as Sasuke reached him, and he easily deflected the attack, sending it through the wall and throwing Sasuke away. Naruto then moved to attack Itachi. Stay out of this, it's their fight, said the other guy, putting something resembling a sword wrapped in bandages in Naruto's way. Stay out of this, Naruto. I'll kill him myself, shouted Sasuke, charging at Itachi again, this time wielding a kunai. This time Itachi grabbed his arm and pulled it across him. He then kneed Sasuke in the gut, let go of him, and before he could even start to fall, roundhoused him into the wall. Jiraiya then broke through the wall on the other side of the guy with the sword. It seems I got here just in time. I got a message from Konoha that you 2 had come after Naruto and Sasuke was chasing after Itachi, said the Sannin. Well, let's leave the brothers to it. Wouldn't want to disrupt their reunion now, would we? Said the other guy. I guess not, Kisame Hoshigaki, said Jiraiya, although his face and body language showed that given half a chance he'd be through and helping the genin. Itachi walked up to Sasuke, who was slowly standing up after hitting the wall and falling to the floor. He then grabbed his shirt collar and lifted him up, switching his eyes to Mangekyo Sharingan. He got Tsukuyomi ready so that as soon as Sasuke opened his eyes he would be caught in the genjutsu. Sasuke opened his eyes. Itachi was shocked but had no time to stop the technique when he realized that Sasuke was also using the Mangekyo Sharingan, but his was different. They appeared in the warped world of Tsukuyomi, but instead of seeing the Sasuke he had originally left in Konoha as he was supposed to, he instead saw the Sasuke he had been fighting against. Well, it would seem you also have the Mangekyo Sharingan, but what I'd like to know is how did you get it? Inquired Itachi. Sasuke laughed. Ever wondered where our Sharingan came from? You know as well as I do it wasn't written in the scrolls, it's a branch of the Fuengan Kekkei Genkai. Ever heard of it? Said Sasuke. No, I can't say I have, replied Itachi. Well then why don't I tell you? It's the Kekkei Genkai of the Uzumaki clan. Naruto managed to activate his. Amongst its abilities it is capable of enhancing both the Sharingan and the Byakugan. Another thing the scrolls seem to be missing is that the Sharingan has a third stage and it can only be unlocked by the Fuengan. It's called Kajigan, but I haven't got it just yet. However, my Mangekyo Sharingan is more than enough to match yours, said Sasuke. Meanwhile, I think it's time I gave some of the Sharingan's more advanced techniques a shot, thought Naruto. Hey ugly, called out Naruto. What did you just call me? Said Kisame turning around. Naruto had prepared his version of Tsukuyomi. Kakim. As Kisame turned round, Naruto looked straight into his eyes. To Kisame the world went dark for a moment and then a different world seemed to form around him. It was hot and dry and whilst there was just enough light to see by he couldn't tell where it was coming from. The sky was completely black. What the hell did you do? Seethed Kisame to the Naruto that materialized from the ground up in front of him. Well, since you work with Itachi and I already know he has Mangekyo Sharingan, I take it you're familiar at least in some way with its Tsukuyomi technique? Inquired Naruto. Of course, not that I've ever been daft enough to get on the receiving end of it, replied Kisame. Well, this is an even more powerful version of that, it's called Kakim, stated Naruto. Yeah right, and how would you be able to use a Sharingan technique? Said Kisame, preparing to dispel what he thought was simple genjutsu. I told you it's not a Sharingan technique as such but a more powerful technique. After all, that's what you'd expect from the Kekkei Genkai the Sharingan came from, the Fuengan, said Naruto calmly. No way. You mean I'm trapped in a technique even more devastating than the Mangekyo's Tsukuyomi, cried Kisame. Yes, shouted Naruto. At that moment a 10-foot-long spear impaled Kisame through his left shoulder, running straight down, out of his foot and into the floor with only 2.5 feet still showing out of the 6 inches. 6-person. Then a second appeared on his right side and the process was repeated. Again and again the spears were withdrawn and plunged into him. Outside the genjutsus, Hinata had stopped her practice and walked to the door. She was about to wave her hand in front of Naruto's face to see if he was okay when Jiraiya called out. Don't. He's taken Kisame into a powerful dojutsu that requires eye contact. Sasuke and Itachi are in one as well. The two are either the same one or very close, he said. Oh, okay, said Hinata timidly, looking over at Sasuke and Itachi. How on earth could it be taking so long though? Naruto must be give Kisame quite a hard time for it to take this long. But as far as I know from my talks with Naruto and Sasuke's fathers, the only reason that I know of for Itachi and Sasuke to take so long is if Sasuke has the Mangekyo Sharingan as well and used it. It prevents the full effects of Tsukuyomi and increases the time it takes, thought Jiraiya, shuddering at the thought of being in the world created by Kakim. He had been a victim of it once before thanks to Naruto's father. He almost felt sorry for Kisame being in that world. At the same time in both dojutsus. Time we left, said Naruto and Sasuke, again showing the level their teamwork had achieved. Instantly all four were back in reality. Kisame collapsed to one knee and then quickly jumped over to beside Itachi, who was still next to Sasuke, both of which had doubled over in exhaustion. Kisame, we're going, said Itachi, quickly running at a wall and using a flying kick to knock straight through it, Kisame following close behind. Naruto, how can you use a technique more powerful than Tsukuyomi and not suffer from chakra depletion? Asked Sasuke, kneeling on one knee and breathing heavily. Believe me, I've used up more chakra than you have, but another part of my family's bloodline, though it's not really considered a Kekkei Genkai cause you can't see it, is that we have very high chakra reserves. Mine is higher than most Chunin and even some Jonin, and it's even higher if I tap into the demons, said Naruto, his trademark smile plastered across his face. Sasuke smiled back. Well, I guess you didn't really need me then, said Sasuke. Like I'd take out Itachi, he's your brother and your problem, replied Naruto, still smiling. He walked over to Sasuke and bent down to help him up. Jiraiya followed him over and stood in front of them. I have to say I'm very impressed with both of you. It took a lot of skill to be able to go up against those two and force them to retreat. I'm not sure it would have been the same if I hadn't been here, but regardless, it's very impressive. I have a feeling that you two are going to be some of the strongest ninjas ever, said the Sanin. Just then someone came flying in. Dynamic entry, shouted Guy. His foot was quickly deflected into a wall by Naruto. Guy-sensei, I suggest having a better look at who you're going to attack before attacking, said Naruto. Sorry about that. All I could see using my forehead protector was two people next to a third who looked pretty beat up, so I assumed the worst. I left my mirror at home, he replied, pulling his foot out of the wall. He normally carries a mirror, thought Jiraiya. Hey kid, whatever you do, don't wear one of those green spandex things, said the voice. Why not? Asked Naruto. If you thought people didn't take you seriously before, then imagine how they'll treat you if you wore that. Oh, and on the subject of dress sense, I think it would be a good idea to get some new clothes. I know you like these jumpsuits, but the only things that shout, "Look, I'm here, kill me," more are fluorescent, said the voice. I suppose you're right. I guess we'll go look after this has been sorted out. Might as well take Hinata too, thought Naruto. Alright, right then, Guy. I trust we can leave it to you to make sure that Sasuke gets back to Konoha safely, said Jiraiya. Sure thing. We'll leave right away, said Guy, using his nice guy pose. Well, since that's sorted, I think me and Hinata will go shopping, said Naruto, walking over to the hole made by Itachi and jumping out of it. Right. See coming, said Hinata, running after him and following him out the hole.